After completing my 10th class exams in 1979, my father suggested that I go and help my father's uncle and learn astrology. Mathematics being my favorite subject, I learned the calculations. My grandfather taught me how to calculate the inclinations of each planet and how to calculate the lagna and the meridian center MC. And he gave me some birth charts to draw. Thus, I learned how to draw the birth charts first and showed interest in predictions. So my grandfather told me some predictions, some of the tips that he usually uses for predictions. And after learning those tips, I documented some of them. I verified with my father. While my father and my grandfather have laid the foundation for me to get interested in astrology, for almost a decade or 2 decades, I didn't show any interest. Welcome to Shastri Karra's astrological series. This is the 8th part for the topic Vivah Vilamb. In this presentation, I am going to take a single female chart, analyze in as much detail as possible from an astrological perspective why this particular female native was not able to get married. She was born in 1984 and as of March 2026 she is still unmarried. So here I am going to talk from different perspectives why this particular lady is still remaining unmarried. This is not new to talk about the definition of marriage Vivah in Vedic astrology. Generally speaking, the ideal age for a person to get married is between the age of 27 and 28 if it is a male, and 25 to 26 if it is a female. This is the general part of the Indian atmosphere right now. And there are times where the people get married after the age of 30. That is due to a variety of family reasons. Now coming from the astrological perspective, when we are figuring it out what is the possibility for a native to get married, usually we look at the 7th house from the Rashi Lagna and who is the 7th house lord and what planets are residing in the 7th house, which planets are aspecting the 7th house, and if there are any planets residing in the 7th house, which houses are they aspecting. And then depending upon the suitable marriage age, we look at what is the Vimsotari Dasa, Mahadasa, Antaradasa, and then depending upon the suitable age and marriage, we look at the transit planets during that period, during that Mahadasa and Antardasa, where we think that there is a possibility for the native to get married. During that period, we look at the transit planets. The most important transit planets usually that I look at are the slow moving planets, Jupiter, Rahu and Saturn, because these are the three planets that move very slowly. In case if there is any delay, it will be clearly visible from these three transit planets. So from the Vedic astrology perspective, like I said earlier, even though that the 7th house is considered to be the Kalatra Sthanama, and that is the primary house to look for the possibility for a native to get married, there are for few other houses that play secondary role. The first and the foremost is the Tanu Sthanamo, that is the first house. Then the second house, which is the Kutumba Sthanamo. The fourth house, which is the Sukha Sthanamo. The 7th house, as usual, the Kalatra Sthanamo, and the 12th house is the pleasures of bed. So if there are any malefic planets that owns any of these houses, or if there are any strong malefic planets residing in any of these houses, there is a very high possibility for that particular native to have either a delayed marriage or remain unmarried for the rest of his or her life. This is exactly what I am going to show you for this particular native that I am going to take an example in this chart, in this video. This particular native was born in 1984 as of March 2026. That's approximately close to 40 years. The native is still unmarried, even though there were a number of trials made and all the trials were unsuccessful. Let me start analyzing the Rasi chart. First and the foremost that I do is look at the Rasi chart from Rashi Lagna. Here the Rashi Lagna is Lord is Mercury, and fortunately in the Lagna in the first house it is empty, nothing is there. Second house Lord is Moon, and the third house Lord Sun is residing there. In the third house Lord is Sun, Venus and Mercury are residing. The fourth house Lord is Mercury. So the first and the fourth house Lord is Mercury is residing in the third house owned by Sun, and then fifth house Lord is Venus. The Venus is in with the fourth house, first and fourth house Lord. Basically, if the fifth house Lord is a benefic and is co-joined with another benefic, then it would be a positive sign for anyone to get for an easy way to get married. Here you can see the first and the fourth house Lord Mercury is co-joined with Venus, the fifth house Lord Venus, in a safe house that is owned by Sun, which is very safe. So that as soon as you see that, the first step is that yes, this particular native has an possibility of getting married. Now comes the fifth house. In the fifth house, the Lord is Venus, but in the fifth house, what you see is the second house Lord Moon is residing. Second house Lord Moon indicates that it is a very good family environment to get married. But unfortunately, in that fifth house, you can see along with the Moon, the second house Lord Moon, you see the Mars and Saturn co-joined. Mars is the sixth house Lord, sixth and 11th house Lord. Sixth house is house of separation, and the 11th house is Kamasthanamo, house of desires. So a malefic is owning the house of separations and the house of desires. That itself tells you that what are the possibilities for the native to get married that I explained in few minutes ago got diminished. And to add further, Saturn, another malefic, is there in the fifth house, co-joined with the second house Lord Moon. So Saturn is the 8th and 9th house Lord. 8th house Lord is not a good sign. 9th house Lord is always indicates that the particular native will be going against the dharma. Whatever the dharma is at that period, the particular native will go against the dharma. That's what Saturn tries to do it. And then the seventh house, fortunately, the seventh house Lord is Jupiter. Jupiter is residing in its own house. That's the only another positive sign for this particular native. The last thing I want to talk about is the 12th house Lord. 12th house Lord is Venus. Remember, the Venus is the 5th and the 12th house Lord. But in the 12th house, you have Rahu there. 12th house is pleasures of bed. Rahu being there indicates that the chance it is very unpredictable when it comes to the pleasures of bed. So that's another thing that needs to be noted here. And now look at the malefic, the most important malefic planets. Which houses are they aspecting? I start with the 7th Mars, because Mars is the 6th house Lord here. We'll start with Mars. Mars' 4th aspect is on the 8th house, which is not a good sign. And 8th house Lord is Saturn. So Mars is co-joined with the 8th house Lord. That's not a good sign. Next, Mars' direct aspect is on the 11th house, its own house. So that means it is very strong when it comes to lack of desires. And now Mars' 8th aspect is on 12th house, where Rahu is residing. So basically, what you see is the 6th house Lord, the house of separations Lord Mars, who is very powerful here, is now not only is now controlling that 11th house, which it owns, it is looking at the 12th house where another malefic is staying, and it is co-joined with the 8th and 9th house Lord Saturn. This itself is the biggest drawback for this particular female native to get married. Now let's go to the second planet that is co-joined with Moon. I'm emphasizing here only the two planets that are co-joined with Moon, because Moon is the second house Lord, Kutumba Sthanadipati. So any malefic planets that are co-joined with Kutumba Sthanadipati or Sukha Sthanadipati or Kalatar Sthanadipati is one that I emphasize a lot. Here Saturn. Saturn is the 8th and 9th house Lord residing in the 5th house. Saturn's third aspect is on the 7th house. So naturally the seventh house is gets spoiled because it is aspecting the seventh house. And the most important thing that you have to see here is Saturn is in Libra. That is where it gets exalted. So not only that it is a malefic, it is now a extremely powerful malefic planet, and its power got amplified by co-joining with another malefic planet, Mars. So Saturn's third aspect will completely spoil the seventh house. Saturn's direct aspect is on the 11th house. Again, that is the lack of house of desires. And Saturn's 10th aspect, this is very important to see. Saturn's 10th aspect is on the second house from Rashi Lagna, that is the Kutumbasthanamu. The second house lord is Moon. Saturn is already co-joined with Moon, so the Moon, the second house lord, became afflicted. Next, Saturn is in the 10th aspect looking at the second house where its bitter enemy Sun is residing. So it will spoil the second house. It being co-joined with the second house lord in the fifth house, it will spoil the fifth house, and it's co-joined with the sixth house lord and the 11th house lord Mars, which is a malefic. It amplifies the power, the negativity of the Mars, that thereby the chances for the native to have be separated or and have lack of desires is very high. This is something that you can clearly see just by looking at the Rashi Lagna. From the Rashi Lagna, this and the D1 chart itself is enough to tell why this particular native was not able to get married. Another important thing I want to talk here is about the relationship between Mars and Moon. From the Moon, Mars is residing in the first house, which is a Kujadosha too. So not only that this particular all the malefic planets are co-joined and aspecting the important houses, this particular native has a Kujadosha too. As I said earlier, generally speaking, if it is a female chart, I immediately look at the Chandra Lagna too. From Chandra Lagna, how are the same houses, but with Moon, natal position of Moon as the Lagna. Here, Libra is the Chandra Lagna, okay, and from Moon, as I said, Mars and Saturn are residing. So now if you look at it, Saturn is the 4th and 5th house lord. From Rashi Lagna, Saturn is residing in the 5th house, exalted. And from Chandra Lagna, Saturn is residing in the 1st house and the lord of the 4th and 5th houses. So that itself tells you that the possibility for the native to have a Sukhasthanamu and a progeny is a bit challenging. And Mars is the 2nd house lord from Chandra Lagna, Kutumbasthanadipati. That is not a good sign. And Mars and Saturn from Chandra Lagna, they are having a direct aspect on the 7th house, again owned by Mars. So that's another, because of the Kuja dosha, this is another problem for this particular native for not getting married. And another thing is that from Chandra Lagna, Mars is looking at the 8th house. 8th house is the house of for a female. It is looked as a possibility for becoming a widow. So is for male or female it is the same, but usually in Indian environment they look for, if the female has this type of Mars is having some sort of a relationship with the 8th house from Chandra Lagna or Rashi Lagna, then they do consider it as not a good chart, and the chances for that particular female to get married is extremely difficult. This is another thing that we see here for this particular native is, apart from having all these things, whenever an astrologer, as far as to the best of my knowledge, I have seen a lot of astrologers who, when they look at the 8th house from Chandra Lagna or Rashi Lagna, and if it has some sort of a relationship with Mars, they just back off. So that's something that I have noticed it a lot, and maybe this might be the another reason why the female who is currently residing in India, even though there were a number of attempts made between 2011 and 2024, none of the attempts were successful. My best guess is that this might be one of the major reasons for that attempts to be failed. After going through the planetary positions in the D1 chart, the next step that I do is to look at the Vimsottari Dasa. And here, for this particular native, the Vimsottari, according to Vimsottari Dasa, Jupiter Mahadasa starts in year 2005, that's approximately 21 years old, and it lasts all the way until 2021, that is for 16 years. So from the age of 22 all the way till the age of 38, for this particular native, it is Jupiter Mahadasa. Generally speaking, Jupiter is a benefic planet, and Jupiter's Mahadasa during the prime age, it will always result in the native getting married. This is the general perception when it comes to Jupiter Mahadasa. But for this particular native, the marriage did not happen, and so we got to look at what's the reason for this. First, the way to do is to look at the Jupiter planet. The very first thing you see is Jupiter is the 7th house lord. So by default, we will be assuming that it's a Jupiter Mahadasa. Jupiter is the 7th house lord, and Jupiter is residing in the 7th house, in its own house. So for sure the native will be getting married. This is what, generally speaking, when you look at the chart. The reality is she did not get married. So we have to go more in detail into the Jupiter Mahadasa and other planets Antardasha to see why didn't the native get married during this period. Let me now go through in detail about the Jupiter Mahadasa. Jupiter Mahadasa started in the year 2005, approximately 1984, means 26 years old. It is 26 plus 5, 30 years old. So the Jupiter Mahadasa 2005, Jupiter Mahadasa and Jupiter Antardasa is all the way until 2007. The native could not get married during that period. Like I said, Jupiter, even though Jupiter is a 7th house lord and Jupiter Antardasa is also the 7th house lord, the native could not get married. First and the foremost reason is the Saturn's third aspect. Saturn is the 8th house lord, 8th and 9th house lord. Third aspect is on Jupiter. So that is, the malefic Saturn is having a direct third aspect on Jupiter, 7th house and on Jupiter at the same time. And another thing you have to look at it is moon. From moon, Saturn and Mars is the 7th house lord, and both moon, Mars and Saturn are aspecting the 7th house. So neither the destiny nor the native's mentally preparation cooperated, and hence during this period, Jupiter Mahadasa and Jupiter Antardasa between 2005 and 2007, the native could not get married. The next one that I would have gone checked is the Jupiter Mahadasa and Venus Antardasa. Venus is the 12th house lord, pleasures of bed, so the chances are extremely high for a native to get married during the 12th house period, during the sub period of the 12th house lord, which is Venus. And Venus is co-joined with the Mercury, the 1st and 4th house lord Mercury, in the 3rd house. So assumed that at least this might happen. Even that did not happen, because if you look at it, even though the Venus is the 12th house lord, Venus is also the 5th house lord, and guess who is residing in the 5th house? Saturn. And there is a rule in astrology which says that wherever Saturn resides, he shouts that he owns that house. So the lord does not have any power on his own house, on the house where, even though the lord owns it, if Saturn is residing there. So now, since Saturn is residing in the house owned by Venus here, in the 5th house, 5th house is Putrasthanam, and 5th house also plays a vital role when it comes to possibility of getting married. So Venus became extremely weak here, because in both of the houses that he owns, they are malefics. In the 5th house you see Mars and Saturn. In the 12th house you see Rahu. So since both its own houses are owned by malefics, it lost its ability to push for the native to get married. Then the next comes is the moon. Moon is Matrasthanadipati. That means the ability for a native to get married, female native to get married and become a mother. So something went wrong here in the moon too. The simple reason is moon has got afflicted because of Mars and Saturn residing, co-joining with them. Thus, even though the Jupiter Mahadasa is there, because the Antardasas did not cooperate, the native was not able to get married. Having completed analyzing the birth chart, the D1 chart from the planetary positions, their aspects, and then analyzing the Vimsottari Dasa and the periods, the sub-periods, and finding out the reason why the native could not get married. The next step that I do usually is to go through the Bihuru Chakra Paddhati, which is a annual chart, and this chart is a bit helpful to see if there are, if through another perspective, is there a possibility? If so, when is that possibility? So the first thing we do is that in Bihuru Chakra Paddhati, the year the native was born, the ruler will be moon, and from that year onwards, every year you increase by one house. The ruler is the moon, so the ruler will start activating the first house as soon as the native is born, till the native completes the first year, and then the moon will activate the second house the next year. Like that, it keeps on going. So what we do is that here, if you see that when the native after the 25th birthday and before the 26th birthday, that is July 2009 through July 2010, Mercury activates the 12th house. Mercury is the Lagnadipati and the 4th house lord. 12th house is the pleasures of bed. So this is the first possibility for any native to get married, especially if it is a female. So here what you see is that because when Mercury being the Lagnadipati and the 4th house lord, since it is activating the 12th house, which is the pleasures of bed, we got to see how good is the 12th house. In the chart, you see the 12th house lord is Venus, the natural 7th house lord. So by default, we can assume that the possibility is very high. But in this particular native, in the 12th house, what we see is Rahu residing, a malefic planet is residing. So the 12th house got afflicted. So even though Mercury activates the 12th house, the house doesn't get activated because there is a malefic planet residing there. Another thing you have to see is that Mars, who is the 6th house lord, house of separations, is another malefic planet, is residing in the 5th house, and its 8th aspect is again on the 12th house. So that's another reason why between the age 25 and 26, that means between 2009 and 2010, the native couldn't get married. And according to the native, they tried several attempts from 2011 till 2024. So let's go and look at why all the attempts failed from 2011 till 2024. If you look at it, 2011, in June 2009 through June 2010, Venus activates the second house. Then 2011 till 2012, Venus activates the 4th house. 2012 through 13, Venus activates the 5th house, and the most important thing you should see is between 2014 till 2015, Venus activates the 7th house. Venus being the natural 7th house lord, when it activates 2nd, 4th, 5th, 7th or 12th houses, the chances are extremely high for the native to get married, provided Venus is not afflicted and no malefics are residing in these houses. Unfortunately, if you look at from Rashi, Lagna, the 2nd house lord is Moon. Moon is residing in the 5th house and co-joined with 2 malefic planets. So the 2nd house lord became afflicted, and in the 2nd house you have another malefic sun residing. So it did not work out. The 4th house, Mercury is the Lagnadipati for the 4th house, and Mercury is residing with natural the natural 7th house lord Venus. So there should have been some possibility for the native to get married between 2011 and 2012. That's exactly what the native told me. But for some peculiar reasons, it did not happen, which I'm going to see what could be the reasons between July 2011 and July 2012. Let's go and analyze that time period and look at the transit planets at that time. The next thing is 5th house lord, 5th house. When Venus activates the 5th house, it's not going to happen because Mars and Saturn are residing in the 5th house, so no need to look at it. The next most important thing is the 7th house. That means 2014 till 2015, Venus activated the 7th house. Jupiter is residing there. Jupiter is the 7th house lord. Venus is the natural 7th house lord, and it is activating the 7th house in the chart, which is Jupiter is a natural 7th house lord for this particular native, and Jupiter is residing there. The chances are extremely high for this particular native to get married between 2014 and 2015. Unfortunately, it did not happen either. So the next comes the 12th house. When Venus activates 12th house, just like Mercury activating the 12th house, nothing happened. Venus, when it activates the 12th house, nothing will happen. That's for sure. So that means between 2019 and 2020, nothing happened. The next thing you see is 2021 through 2022, Sun activates the 2nd house. Sun is the 3rd house lord, activating the 2nd house, and it is residing in the 2nd house itself. So there should have been some possibility for this particular native to get married between 21 and 22, and we don't know why it did not happen. The next is Sun activating the 4th house between 23 and 24. Then also it did not happen. Now Sun, when it activates the 5th house in 2024 through 2025, it will not happen. Again, when Sun activates the 7th house between 2026 and 2027, the chances are there for the Sun, for the native to get married. And when Sun activates the 12th house in 2031 through 2032, it will not happen. So basically the two other possibilities is, actually the only possibility, I should say, not two other, the only possibility for this particular native to get married is between July 2026 and July 2027, because Sun is activating the 7th house from Rashi Lagna. That is where the 7th house lord Jupiter is residing. So we have to go and look at that, do the transit analysis between July 2026 and 2027 to see, is it possible for the native to get married. That is a possibility, that's a prediction. Before going there, like I said, between 2023 and 2024, when Sun activated the 4th house, she could not get married. So we have to look at that one, the transit analysis in the year 2023 to 2024, and see what made this particular native not to get married. So that's what I'm going to do it. First, I'm going to analyze, figure it out why the native could not get married between July 2023 and July 2024, finding out what could be the possible astrological reasons, and then predict if there is a possibility for the native to get married between July 2026 and 2027. As I said earlier, there is a possibility that the native might got married between July 2023 and July 2024, and she could not get it done. So I said that we have to do the transit analysis to figure it out why it did not happen. So here is the transit analysis in July 2023. That is the month when I started it, and I noticed that transit Rahu and transit Jupiter are in Aries. Aries is the 7th house from Moon, owned by Mars. Remember, Jupiter is the 7th house lord from Rashi Lagna, and Mars is the 7th house lord from Chandra Lagna. From Moon, Aries, both transit and Jupiter and transit Rahu are in the 7th house. So that is the reason why, even though Jupiter being the 7th house lord and Jupiter Mahadasa was running, the native could not get married. Another thing, reason is transit Saturn is in the 5th house from Chandra Lagna, and from there its third aspect is on the 7th house, which is Aries, where transit Jupiter and transit Rahu are residing. Because of these two reasons, specifically all the three slow moving transit planets are very strong, especially if they are in malefic positions or co-joined with malefic. The negative impactivity will be extremely high, so which you can see here. So that's the reason why in July 2023 the native could not get married. Now let me go to see in by July 2024 which did anything change, especially these three slow moving planets. Now that let me go from year 2023 to 2024, July 2024, and see what the three slow moving planets, what was the change in the three slow moving planets? First and the foremost, what I see is that transit Saturn is still in the same house in between July 2023 and 2024. That means its third aspect is still on the seventh house owned by Mars, its malefic planet. And see, the natal Mars and natal Saturn are co-joined in with moon. So when transit Saturn is looking at the house owned by Mars, it and the natal Mars is co-joined, that seventh house law is got completely afflicted. The next thing is transit Rahu. In by July 2024, transit Rahu has moved from Aries to Pisces. Pisces is the sixth house from Moon. That sixth house is house of separations, and Rahu being a terminator, even if there was a possibility for the native to get married, maybe things might have gone so nicely that all of a sudden something went wrong, and the marriage even did not happen. That might be a possibility because Rahu creates unexpected events, and those events will result into house of in separation. So the native could not get married. That's another reason. Next comes is transit Jupiter. The seventh house lord from destiny is Jupiter, and Jupiter Mahadasa was running, and transit Jupiter is moved to the 12th house from Rashi Lagna and 8th house from Chandra Lagna, where natal Rahu is residing. Thus, the 7th house lord Jupiter got afflicted again. The transit Jupiter got afflicted here again, and that might be the another reason why the native could not get married between July 2023 and 2024. Now let me go and see the future, like in 2026 and 2027. Is there a possibility for the native to get married? Now let me go and analyze the transit analysis for this particular female native. What are the possibilities for this native to get married between July 2026 and July 2027? That's one thing I said. According to Bihurgu Chakra Paddhati, there is a small possibility in this 1 year. So let's go and see from a Rashi chart perspective. What you see is that transit Saturn has moved from the 6th to 7th by July 2027. That means it is moving from the house of separation to the Kalatrasthanamo. But unfortunately, when it moves to Aries or Mesha, it gets debilitated there. So even though the Saturn has moved from 6th house, Dushtana house, to the good house, 7th house, but still it got debilitated there, so it's a little bit weaker. The other fortunate point is here is that natal Saturn is having, and Moon and the 7th house lord Mars, all the three are having a direct aspect on the debilitated transit Saturn. So there is a slight possibility for this particular native to get an opportunity to get married after transit Saturn moves from Meena Rashi to Mesha Rashi. That's the first possibility. Second thing is transit Rahu. Transit Rahu will be moving from Meena to Aquarius, from Pisces to Aquarius. That means it's moving from the 5th house to the 4th house. Basically, wherever Rahu moves in, Rahu is a terminator, so as soon as before he moves in or as soon as he moves in, he will create some sort of a chaos in that particular house, the bhava of that house. Here it's moving to the 4th house. That means 4th house is Sukhasthanamo and home life environment. So the chances are that as soon as Rahu comes over here, it creates some chaos in the home life environment for this particular native. And what I noticed is that transit Saturn going to the Aries and transit Rahu coming to Aquarius, when these two things happen, that's when the possibility for this particular native having a possibility to get married, and that possibility might create some sort of a disturbances in her home life environment. Now let's go and look at the Vimsotari Dasa. More precise, it's the Saturn Mahadasa and the Mercury Antardasa. Wow, Mercury is the first and the 4th house lord from Rashi Lagna. So Saturn is now is the first house from Chandra Lagna, and transit Saturn it will be in the 7th house from Chandra Lagna too, and the 11th house from Rashi Lagna. 11th house is house of desires. So there is a possibility from 2024 May all the way till 2027 January. That means this is year 2026. So before December of 2026 there is a possibility. Now let me further fine tune the process. Possibility is like if you do the Pratyantara Dasa, Jupiter Pratyantara Dasa is from in the April of 2026 till August of 2026. So and Jupiter is the 7th house lord from Rashi Lagna, and but he is the 6th house lord from Chandra Lagna too. So again, like I said, there will be possibility, but the possibility of her getting married is very very minimal, to be honest. And even if it happens, it won't be a cakewalk. There will be a lot of mental stress, chaos in the family, home life environment. All these things happen, but still there is a possibility. So let me wait and see. I will try to contact this native somewhere in January of 2027 and see if this particular native got married. If she hasn't got married, at least did she get the possibility between April of 2026 through August of 2026. As I said earlier in my introduction, this is the 8th part of the Vivah Vilamb. There are the previous 7 parts are also in the YouTube channel, in the same YouTube channel, and here I am posting the links, and I will try to post the same links in the description channel too, so that you can click them, watch the videos, and if you have any questions, feel free to directly email it to me at jrkara@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching my video, this particular video. In the description part, I did put the remaining 7 Vivah Vilamb links that are already existing in the same video YouTube channel. If you are interested, feel free to watch those too. If you have any queries, please email to me, as I rarely look into the YouTube to look for the comments. If you know any native who is unmarried and who is over the age of 40, please feel free to email me, so that I would like to analyze that particular native's chart, and if there is something that is unique from an astrological perspective, I would like to create a video for that and then post it here in the YouTube channel. Thank you once again for watching my video.